Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. It's Cody, your Caped Crusader, and we're keeping it geekly. We are here with our good friend, Cody Fernandez of Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy Issues 1 through 4. How are you doing today, Cody? 2 Codys, 1 stream. Let's go, baby.
Yes. I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good today, actually. You know, it's a bright, nice day up here in the mountains of northern New Mexico, and I'm happy to meet you and say howdy to everybody who wanders on by this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're meeting you over here in the cold winds of Ohio. And I'll tell you what, my morning started off fantastic. I usually sleep about 4 or 5 hours a day. I had 8 to 9. I woke up fresh. I was like, dude, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm ready to get this interview, ready to kill it. And then my son ended up getting sick on the car ride. So it was like, oh no. Hey, Crudo, welcome to the stream. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But yeah, man, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your start into indie comic creating.
Oh wow, so there's a lot there. I'm Cody with Ironverse Comics. Our tagline over there is when reality belongs to evil, heroes are inevitable. It kind of talks to our mission statement of basically everything we produce over at Ironverse Comics. Jack Irons certainly not excluded from that. I've been in comics. It's really hard to say when the journey officially starts with this, right? You could say when you picked up your first bit of sequential art, which is usually a children's book, and that got me hooked into that kind of communication. Yeah. Then you could start like what was the comic book that got me like wanting to make comics, which was Ghost Rider Road to Damnation by Clayton and Garth Ennis. I had never seen something so cool, and it showed me the potential of the medium that you couldn't really find anywhere else. I could start when I really took a dive into trying to get the line art produced about 7 years ago for Jack Irons issue number 1. You could just go a little further back, and you could start about 16 years ago when I wrote the scripts for Jack Irons, trying to work through some things artistically. Right? There's a lot of different starting places. I think all of them are relatively valid. We've been producing comics and shipping internationally for about the last 4.5 years. I think it's been a journey. I know it's been a journey that has really reached a ton of awesome folks and has resonated in ways that I never expected, and has kept me doing doing a journey that's it's a lot of it's a continuous education when you jump into this as naive is the kindest way to put it, as I did. I've been just continuously blessed for opportunities to learn and grow on the bit and meet excellent people and share the work and continue pushing forward for this. And honestly, Jack itself and the work I do at Ironverse Comics, I really try very hard to make it a net positive. I know a lot of people totally can get that and get what I'm saying from, but people who don't know, a lot of the space can be different ways. It can be a lot of different ways, and that's one of the educational bits that I've had to learn along the way. But that's a little bit, right? I work with dogs. I work at a pet resort running dog play groups. Okay. And other kind of animal care. I love that job. I've been doing it for so long, so fulfilling. I've worked in healthcare before that for a long time. So caretaking is kind of my deal. Yeah, your thing, yeah. And that's what I've done with the comic work as well. I've been able to work with so many awesome talents. And just hopefully making a space that people can love, enjoy, and share their passion for. In particular, I'm hugely biased towards independent comics. I think the cacophony, the crazy amount of noise and amount of voices that are out there is just like the pure strain of magic I want from comics.
Yeah. So I had a chance to actually read some of the earlier issues. Issue number 1, parts of issue number 2, and man, I gotta tell you, like, wow. So first things first, what drove you to want to create a cowboy in the future? This is kind of where I'm getting at, is where this is all taking place, but it looks like this one's like kind of like immortal. He's been has experience or lived for in his mind for like 2,000 years, but's been on Earth for about 200. So what's the story behind that? You know, give us the breakdown on that, because when I was reading it, I'm like, wow, this is something I really haven't had a chance to consume. Like, this is, you know, you see elements of similar natures, but not wrapped up in one thing. So, you know, what's the story behind that? And Jax as well. The bar, by the way, I love the name of the bar, Cody.
that was all Maxie. He originally wanted the quote unquote reader stand-in character that Jax John to throughout the first arc, the first 3 issues, to be me. He wanted to do a character of that, and we kind of settled on mid-ground that he'd make the main character, the stand-in character, a little bit more generic, and he wanted to name the bar that, and I was like, okay, that's fine. It's an old cowboy name, Cody, anyway, so it works for me. But overall, right, so I had in passing mentioned that Jack was kind of a way to work things out. You can call it a coping mechanism if you want. It wasn't so heavy into that. It was more of an exploration, right? From going from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, the overwhelming nature of humanity as you're growing in awareness of the totality of it all, right? And so that was the reason why. How do I want to phrase this? So one reviewer, I believe on issue number 1 and maybe issue number 2, he had made a comment that said, Mr. Fernandez has used a shotgun when he should have used the sniper rifle, but he nonetheless hit his target. And what that means to me is kind of what I was doing, where these things like, you mentioned choosing a cowboy, choosing a setting. All of these are the main antagonist, the Four Horsemen. All these things, the location, everything, the armor.
So those four were like the Four Horsemen of like the apocalypse, right? In the second issue? That's exactly what I thought too. Yeah.
So they're all caricature, stand-in symbols, thought forms that I was trying to work through. They were you're taking a gigantic, almost unimaginable idea, and you're shoving it into a mechanism. In this case, a story is the medium, and you're trying to see and explore what that means to you. And so with Jack, a cowboy, I'm from the Southwest. I grew up in that culture. I grew up in biker culture. That's why it's very strong with Jack as well. And you have the biker cowboy kind of dichotomy where biker has a lot of the outlaw vibes. It has a lot of the lone wolf vibes. It has a lot of that still built into it. It's both are very strong in Americana and in that folklore. There's symbols that communicate specific things. Jack, people consistently think he's a cyborg, and to be fair, he's not. You find out for sure in issue 3. But I wanted that communication as well, because he's living in this world that is slowly turning people into machines, quite literally in his case. And again, it's symbols. I wanted the armor is more of a, hopefully communicates a bit of chivalry, as it were, a little bit of knighthood to it. It's rough, it's tumbled, it's kind of scrapped together, it's pieced together, as you can see from its design. All of those artistic choices are meant to communicate certain ideas that this character is carrying through this world, and together with the reader, I'm trying to explore what that means. And so I try to present it in an extremely fun way. I try to I know our artist is just wonderful at expressing stylistically.
The art was phenomenal.
Yeah, no question. I'm very blessed to meet Maxi Dallo, a beautiful Argentinian artist who happens to come up through my area. I met him through Craigslist of all places when I was trying to figure out how to get into comics. And we met in McDonald's, and we've been working together since for like the past 7 years or so. It's been a wonderful journey, and I don't think
you met him on Craigslist?
Yeah.
Of all places, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had some decent luck with Craigslist, like buying and selling things, and I tried to jump into comics via the internet a few different ways. Basically, before social media, I'm not. So like, there's the social media is such a double-edged sword. Yeah. And so I was never interested in engaging with it. Period. But eventually, after working with Maxie, getting the line art for issue 1 produced, and then doing the publishing pitch circle for a few years, I figured like that's how I'm getting this out. Our work is very esoteric, and there's a few publishers who it would fit with, but those publishers weren't interested, as far as I can tell, because the main thing that happens with publishing submissions these days is silence. So you can't really tell. So but after about 3 years of the grind and so on, bit the bullet, and happened to be good timing, and people were looking for independent comics and independent content, and we hit that certain niche, as you said. Well, sort of said, you can't find a story like ours anywhere else.
No, really. And it's the way it's just scripted is just so well put. I really enjoyed, issue 1. You have Jack go up against the bounty hunter, the robot bounty hunter, and things get very climatic. And then issue 2, we are introduced to the Four Horsemen. So what's issue 3 have for us? What type of world building, transitions from issue number 2 into issue number 3?
So issue 1, I used to call it's kind of an introduction to Jack's mind, how it works, and what bits and pieces are in there. Issue 2 is an introduction to the world that he watched kind of fall from grace. Though if you read issue 1, there wasn't much grace there to begin with. And then issue 3 is a stark reminder and a kick in the butt for you let this happen. You need to go back and stare it in the face and face it. And that's what we find, or that's where we find ourselves in issue 4, is him actually going out into that wilderness. The call to action on the hero's journey has been answered, and he's going to go see what he's kind of neglected when he may have had the power to do more than he's done. With issue 3, we meet another immortal known in Jack's kind of future timeline as Tracker, the top predator. He met him as Micaiah Truset, a native who shares Jack's immortality in that his physical body cannot die anymore. Reality will not let it get destroyed and will not let him pass. But he doesn't share Jack's connection to the full continuity of humanity, that reincarnation cycle. He doesn't have that knowledge. So they've taken very different paths given that power. Jack has kind of wallowed in it and kind of lost himself to it, as we see in issues 1, 2, and a bit of 3. Tracker instead is trying to seize it as an opportunity to be the top predator. That's what he wants to be, is to be the strongest thing to ever exist.
You mentioned earlier that you like to throw bits of symbolism into this comic. What is the symbolism behind Jack? Jack being able to have the collective, continuity of the human mind for the last couple thousands of years, being on Earth, unable to die. What is the symbolism behind him himself? So
the best way I can say it, and what people might understand it more if I kind of what led me there, right? So there's a lot of characters in Jack people notice. Of course, the most obvious, hopefully, is the man with no name. But the another one, of course, is Wolverine. Was a massive bit where it's this character who wants to do good, who continuously, he's a killer. Marvel really kind of leans off of that angle here and there with Wolverine. They try to make him, consumable in the X-Men, but he is an absolute just murderer. He chops people into pieces. So he's got that psychological weight of trying to be a good man who has been a bad man consistently, and Jack's got that as well. So part of it, what birthed Jack in my mind was kind of, again, was that transition to adulthood and that weight, right? So Jack can act, at least for me, and how I've worked as the intent is a collective face of humanity facing what it has left behind, what it has built. The Four Horsemen are these creatures, these Lovecraftian beings that rip into reality and try and make reality themselves. They want to be it. They believe that's their right to be the strongest, even among their brothers. That's what do they represent, I guess, is the easiest way of putting this. Each of the four, the representations. Absolutely. So we have Famine, how he's manifested on Earth, and our mechanics in Ironverse go beyond that.
And that's how he's manifested with the gas mask, right?
No, the Famine Inc. is the businessman. He's the one who seeks to. He's perpetuated by suffering, by greed, by abundance being hoarded, by those kind of concepts, right? Where you could go extreme capitalistic assets, but it also goes on the opposite spectrum where it's forced labor, it's the collective for the one. It's those kind of concepts feeding into again, a single entity that seeks to make that everything. War, that one should be a little bit more kind of easily recognizable. You know, it's violence, it's anger, it's rage, it's pillaging, it's violent tactics, it's all of those things, again manifesting in a single creature that seeks to make that all of reality. That's what's happening. Plague, in his way, he seeks, it's reckless scientific pursuit, it's experimentation without morality, it's progress for progress's sake. It's that sort of reckless abandon towards knowledge, that arrogance made manifest, and again into something that seeks to perpetuate itself into monstrosities and horrors. And then Death's the most interesting character to me, because he's the hardest one to approach, and he's the least well, I guess he's technically the most active, but he's the least actively perpetuating himself. He is nature, right? So he's a little less like something to directly fear, something that's directly opposing you. He is inevitable. That's his big bet, except for a few characters, right? So that's kind of that cycle where there's a lot of power in Death, but it's not as actively antagonistic because he doesn't need to be. He's the eldest of the brothers, and he can watch them squabble amongst each other and simply perpetuate himself.
And I really love their designs too, man. Oh, they were like, so what was the relationship in, I guess, relaying this information to your artist? You know, how much input did you have in the way they were designed compared to what he actually put on paper?
So with Jack, it was kind of, it was definitely the first back and forth. You know, we were learning to work with each other. And I had done loose sketches. I'm a terrible artist, but I had Jack very clearly and vividly in my mind. And that was one of the, again, the ways to get that out. And so I had that with me for a while. Then when I met Maxie, that's what I shared. And then we worked designs off of that. He made it practical and more iconic, and has continuously over the issues, as folks will notice, specifically between 1 and 2, there's a huge jump because there was years in between the production of the line art, that the design has continuously refined and has taken on more of that symbolism as Maxie understands more and more what we're doing with this project together.
Yeah.
For instance, like in the first issue, the hat was a little bit more rounded, a little less rough. His line art was a little bit cleaner, more like Joe Mad and less Warren Johnson or Heron. He got bigger. Jack got more exaggerated in issue 2. The hat came over the eyes to kind of put that more general sense of, you know, a less specific character trait, so that there's a little bit more like general resonance than specific resonance. There's a lot of different things, and that was just Jack, right? So for the Four Horsemen themselves, with issue 2, I had at that point I had met the co-editor of pretty much co-founder of Ironverse Comics, Dollar Coins, our wonderful mangaka over there. If folks are interested, we always offer our first issues and, you know, your tastes into Ironverse Comics for free. So you can go to ironversecomics.com and read issue number 1 of Jack and see if that's your kind of deal. Or
we'll put that link in the comic, in the description as well, so people can check it out if they're interested.
Thank you. And so Cactus Coyote is another title under under Ironverse Comics, and it explores the cosmic side of this, because this the Horsemen are sort of our pillars of Ironverse Comics. If it happened on Earth, it could happen on other planets with sentient species, and that's you kind of imagine what they're dealing with on that scale. And so that's where that is. And if you're into more like a loose manga with a bit more of a fun style, you can read Cactus Coyote there and see if that's up to your taking. We have a 15-page ash can, more in the Western style, of Cactus Coyote coming out with issue number 4 when that funds. So people can look forward to a more traditional effort on that as well. But he had worked with me. I had very clear visions of kind of what I wanted these characters to look like, but those ones I didn't draw. I just kind of communicated it with him as we got this back and forth, and he understood exactly what I was trying to do, and he did kind of loose storyboards for issue number 2 to kind of help speed up the process of the line art for that issue. And Maxie took those loose kind of drawings and added his own flair to them, and we got our iconic kind of I wanted, and I think we succeeded in basically every character design that matters communicates perfectly what they are addressing in the greater communication of the work. And so that the horsemen in particular, they're super iconic. Right when you look at them, you understand what they're kind of sticking with and what their motives are, and you know, the level of darkness that's in them, all of that. And so it was, you know, it was a completely collaborative effort, but as always, Maxi just took it over the top and made it something just so very powerful. And
yeah, I definitely, like I said, when I had the chance to read issue 1 and, you know, pretty much half of issue 2, I was definitely blown away. Not only by just like everything I was consuming, just the art. It's so easy to get lost into the way he draws the worlds, just the universe, how everything looks. You know, it's like post-apocalyptic. But, you know, you see Jack on a motorcycle with like 2 iron horses leading him. Like, that was such a crazy design. And I just could not get enough of it. So you said this is issue number 4 is going to be kind of like his answer to what he needs to finish up. How long will we see this world go on for? How many issues do you have in store after issue number 4?
So we do 3-issue arcs is what I'm doing for Jack Irons, right? So this is the start of another arc.
Okay.
Technically, this is designed to be a infinitely running series. There's too many ideas and concepts to tackle within it. The potential is incredible. The issue, as always, is not so much the potential, but being able to utilize that potential.
Yeah.
Of that, I mean, we do it as best we can artistically, but the business and reaching funding and all of those fun avenues, that's more difficult, especially these days. So that is the determining factor. However, again, planned at 3-issue arcs. I try and make a somewhat suitable ending at the end of each the issue. So I try and write the issues self-contained, so you can just pick it up and get some form of entertainment and hopefully thought-provoking content each issue, but they do bleed into each other so that you get this ongoing narrative. And so we can end any issue. The goal is not, you know, I don't want to see it end.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to pass it on. I would love to do that bit with it. But the determining factor, honestly, is folks' engagement and desire to see it continue on. We have an end to Ironverse Comics planned out, just overall, the final statement, as it were. But it would take forever to reach that. So in each title, we kind of try and self-contain and allow room to breathe there. If sadly that was the, you know, the destiny, the fate. Yeah. But honestly, there is so much to tell. There is so much to tell with what we're working with, and every issue I scratch the surface of these things that I want to talk about, and I want to have fun with, and I want to make seem assailable. I want to make them seem manageable. And you know, a lot of folks these days, it's easy to get overwhelmed with these things, and that's kind of what our work in particular tries to do.
So real quick, before we dive into looking at your Indiegogo campaign, because I'm really, you know, scratching to see those tiers and the different, you know, steps that you have. What all went into influencing this world? I know it's been in the works for years, but I guess if you had to really put it down on paper, you know, where did you draw your influences from growing up? You know, that kind of just cultivated everything as a whole.
So it was kind of a smash of a lot of things, right? One of the smallest is Easy Rider, that spirit of biker freedom and just freedom from the system. But the main like influences, there's a lot of Samurai Jack in that it's a single man with many cultures, lessons, and teachings put into him, opposing a great, again, Lovecraftian almost evil, right? So
you know,
there's a lot of that.
I was gonna say I felt some Trigun vibes in it.
There's Trigun as well. He's not as Jack's like definitely not as happy and as I don't know, aloof as Vash can be, which Vash isn't. It's just one of his psychological covers. But
like the shootouts, man, beautiful.
Yes. Yes, and that's the bit too. Is Trigun can be, when you're reading it, it can be a bit unclear, some of the paneling, which has always kind of jerked me, but the expression and the movement in firefights and in Vash's characterization is always on point, and I like that. That's what carries it for me. But then the other thing was Warhammer 40k. So 40k has this same concept of four malevolent darknesses that are kind of just seeded into the consciousness that are trying to rip through, and that's a big one, and it's grandiose, epic world building and scale, and how it makes dealing with these horrors and these extremes of existence fun to engage with is something I always looked up to. So it's kind of a slamming of those two. But of course, there were so many others. Again, I mentioned Easy Rider a little bit, but the Man with No Name trilogy. There's a lot of the Red Dead Revolver from back in the day, not Redemption, Redemption.
That was
2,
such, yeah, I love that game.
The campiness, right? The spaghetti western homage that it was, and what Red was as a character, that was a big one for me. There's a ton of things that went into that, but at the end of the day, it's filtered through what I wanted to do with it, and that, you can read what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, without further hesitation, let's go ahead and let's dive in and start breaking down some of these tiers.
All right. So this is where we're at. 40%, 20 days left. We've squeaked it out before with issue number 3, so I'm still exceedingly nervous is the best way to put it. No, I'm excited, and I'm prepared at the same time. So you never know what's going to happen with us. We got 40% of funding on our 10K goal last time, the final day. So it's kind of we're not out of this fight by any means, but also I see where we're at. And we are producing a professional level independent comic at a hobbyist's ability. Right. So that's if people look at the price and they're saying that, well, that's, we've worked up to there for many years at this point. So that's kind of there. So don't get gun shy, folks. If you're interested, again, dive into our world, dive into the content, see if it's for you. And if it is, we do need your help to face Galactic Armageddon, as I've been saying. But I don't know. What should we cover? Should we cover the basics or go straight into the tiers?
Let's cover, what you want to cover. We can cover the whole thing if you want. We can cover the tiers. This interview is basically as much as you want it to be,
All right.
So I mean, if you want to break it all down, I'm here for every bit of it.
So we covered a lot of this stuff. These are the 3 prior issues. 2 of these are variant covers. So this is the last time, unless we have to rerun the campaign, that you can snag these variants of issue 1 and issue 2. So if that's a thing folks want, we do have a way to dive in on just issue number 1 and snag one of those variants. Limited 500 copies of that, and then it's gone. Kind of introduce, we do 48-page floppies, so they're chunky floppies. 32 pages of that ends up being direct Jack Iron story content, and then the other 16 ends up being various other story contents, concept art, fan art we've done, a bunch of other stuff. So the 32 pages are filled. You know what I mean? These pages are well designed, well filled. And 32 pages is a big chunk as well. Like a lot of comics nowadays are hitting roughly around the 20-25 mark. So, yes.
There's a decent amount of reading material.
Exactly, and that's always been the bit. We try and keep the pacing breezy. Issue number 2, I didn't quite succeed in that. It definitely had a lot to say, and I had to shove it into some smaller places. Some people it was totally cool with. Some other folks they weren't as stoked about it. But each issue we learned. Issue 3, I think I nailed the pacing that I want, where I can communicate as much as I want, but keep it breezy and the pacing up, right? Issue 4, I've refined it, I think, exceedingly well. So I'm excited to get that on out and see how I did. I've been holding on to that script for a long time, and getting the pages in is always just it's one of the coolest things about working in comics. This is some of our previous work, of course, just kind of showing what we can do. There are our titular Four Horsemen for any anybody interested, this is kind of our big, like, it wasn't the introduction. The page before kind of has them looming and has more of their feel to it, but this is kind of the introduction to what you find in Jack, this opposition, this balance, as it were, with him in the center of it. The elevator pitch, of course, for Jack is a reincarnated immortal wanders through galactic Armageddon seeking freedom and purpose. And so that it's a lot of heady terms again, but I want folks to engage with those terms so they understand what we're doing in the work, because it's again, it's not a straightforward adventure tale. It's not a if you go in expecting like a cyborg cowboy to just be shooting out stuff, that's present, but that is not the goal of the work. It's not. And some folks come into it thinking that, and I've tried to hit the balance so that we, especially again with issue 3 is when we really learn that, where you get enough of that I think people like don't feel misled, but then you get what we're trying to do.
It does a really good balance of world building with the shootouts. I mean, it's not every page is filled with it, but when it's there, it's done good enough to where it doesn't need to be every page.
That's exactly my hope, because when you're doing something like that, I want that statement to mean something, not to just be action on a page that looks cool and that's it, right? I need that to mean something. Literally, we have him destroying the machine in issue 1. That's kind of what we do. Issue 2, he fights off the dregs of humanity at one point. There's a big gory headshot, an eyeball flying and such. But
that's when he was driving in the truck, right?
Yes, exactly.
Dude, that, like, I was gonna say, like, the amount of gore was just like perfect, like, because it wasn't too over the board, but it was just good enough when it was present.
Yes, you know? and at the same point, like, we have an alien. Like, I try to, the bar scenes, there's a lot of exposition, and I wanted readers to feel like they're being talked to by a guy who could just be bullshitting them and wants to talk at the bar, right, the whole time. Yeah. And I wanted that feeling to it, and so that happens. But at the same time, in the background, you'll see the world do its thing. In issue number 2, it was a couple aliens trying to play a game, an Earth game that they don't understand, and then getting angry about it. And then one of them quite literally loses his head, and then we subvert expectations by having him. He lives through it. That's like,
hey, Texas Hold'em is a hard game to play, though.
Exactly.
It's exactly.
And then he gets on up and he's got to mop up his own head in the background, right? There's bits like that I try and put some levity and some humor into it and play with
yeah, and as
bits.
you can see, like, just the art is just gorgeous. It really is. Like when you said this is like a pro level production. We can watch your trailer if you want to. I just don't think it should be able to hear it.
Yeah, that's the bit too. I've heard, right, and we don't have much, like, it's all music, so folks could enjoy the song, but they won't get much out of it. So folks go to the campaign page again, Jack Irons, Steel Cowboy issues 1 through 4. You'll probably come right on up. You can watch the trailer and that'll get you more. If you enjoy the music, please check out Laguna Munta. He is one of my oldest friends. He's an independent rocker out of northern New Mexico as well, and he produces some very cool music. So check that on out if you like that. He does his own original rock and roll. So we have a couple trailers on here so folks know kind of the bonus comics they're getting as well. So if you get the digital tier at $16, not only do you get issues 1 through 4, which is like 160 and change pages of Jack Irons, you get 16 pages of Cactus Coyote, which is kind of an introduction bit, and then you get 6 pages of The Recluse, which is our newest title that takes place a little bit earlier and engages with a different set of mechanics than any of the other titles. And so I'm excited to get that on out and see what folks think. But those 2 trailers are on the go. So if you're curious, please check those out.
I might have to manage. I might have to manage my pledge. I think I just got the digital. I didn't realize you got all that packaged with the $16 digital one.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much for backing.
Of course.
We've tried to provide a lot of bang for our buck because we punch far above our weight class, and so anything we can have in our corner, we try and do. And I'm just blessed with a lot of excellent collaborators and team members, and that was one of the expressions of that. And I'm so grateful for it. The storytelling, again, they all have their very specific points in the greater mechanics that we're trying to work with. that will resonate with Jack. And if you like Jack, you'll like what they're doing. It just might, I'm thinking like most universes, there's going to be certain characters that resonate with certain folks.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. If Jack can be an introduction to another one that resonates more, that's excellent, and vice versa, right? So, that's that bit. Here's some introductory pages of issue number 4 that we did. A wonderful Akira homage. A beautiful double page spread. I was so stoked when he brought this in. He has a great way to use kind of Frank Miller or Mike Mignola kind of style paneling to juxtapose against the more active manga style James Herron or Daniel Warren Johnson again style active inks. He's gone heavier. So this is about 96% traditional. So this is actual ink on page as well. So it's any artist knows it's a bit of a different process. And it's a bit more expensive and a little bit more risky, but you get some feeling that I don't think you can get fully digital.
And I would imagine like the work, because if you mess up, you got to redo the whole entire thing almost.
Yeah, it really depends. He's done some cool stuff with digital and post to fix some things. I've seen that before, but we can see. Let me go up here. We did sell these out, by the way. You can see the ink on page, kind of what it looks like on our original art pages, and so you can kind of see what he did for that. But this was the page that sold me on this issue being our most epic yet. With issue 4, we're going through. Into Famine Inc. We're facing corporate hell. We're traveling through 4 layers of it. I restructured a ancient Western tale and an ancient Eastern tale. I slammed them together to use their symbolism for what's happening to Jack on his wake-up journey. I'm mirroring an old Eastern wake-up to the facts of reality tale.
So what were those two that you collided though, if you're able to break that down?
Absolutely. So this one I just don't want to lose people, and that's one of the bits that I hope, like, we're not heavy into the direct messaging, but what I found great about this tale, so it's the 4 sights of the Buddha. So it's when Siddhartha realizes life outside the palace is exceedingly different. He meets 4 individuals, and I want to say meets. One of them's dead, right? So it doesn't quite meet that one, but he gains an understanding of what life outside of the palace, outside of this pampered, taking care of thing is. He realizes about sickness. He realizes about getting old. He realizes about seeing death for the first time, and then he meets the person who kind of already understood that and could communicate to him. That's 4 encounters, but I shoved that through Dante's Inferno. We're going through different layers of hell and different layers of that kind of communication that the Inferno was going for, which is this foreboding warning, at the same time kind of an expression of what those darknesses lead to. And so we those are the 2 stories I slammed together and Jack's traveling through, and they're 2 heady ones. It's very arrogant of me to do that. That's kind of why I love it. Yes.
I was gonna say, did you ever get a chance to read Dante's Inferno?
I didn't get all the way through it. It was an audio book that I listened to.
I loved it so much, dude.
I
the
really
game's really good too.
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, I haven't played through the game either, but I liked. So I listened to the trinity of them, Purgatory or Purgatorio. I really enjoyed that one because it was a very unique take on it that I hadn't really gone through. Because again, it was kind of it was a way to combine this kind of paganistic expression of theology with the burgeoning Christian mythologies and make them consumable to a greater European audience. And so those expressions were extremely important to me, but I wasn't going for specific notes. I was going more for again, flavors and that mechanism of communication as you're going through layers, and seeing the punishments. Like, he was being shown this, and then he's trying to escape with his angel buddy, and quote unquote angel buddy, right? He's in hell, but it's that part of the journey was there. But no, I haven't read through all of it. Again, it's audio books. I mainly listen to. So I got flavor, I got text, I got
Yeah,
context.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got our action opposing one of those great expressions of those layers, which this is the first one we meet, called the Old Man. And I think that encounter is going to go different than how folks think, but I think I genuinely hope and genuinely believe people get a lot out of it.
And I think doing that is like such a huge payoff too. I remember the first time, like Berserk, for instance, like when a lot of that happened to him, you were like, what the actual, you know? But then as the story progressed, you've seen how those actions like affected him and had an impact on his character development. And like, I think those opportunities are insane to see. So like, grab the opportunity while it's there, you know?
Yeah, no, it's and to be as brave as Miura was with like directly facing and expressing these things and believing that an audience was willing to walk alongside a character to do that, like that's super important to me. Like that was a big thing. Like people stay with guts no matter how much. I mean, he's a struggler. That's what he's doing. That's the best way to put it. You could take it a lot of different ways. He's not quite a good guy, but you can see how his character like grows, and that he continuously reaches for the light, no matter how buried he is. And that one's like, again, that's a big resonance I've had when I came across Berserk, which was after the production of this, and I got into it. And yeah, there's a lot of shock, and there's a lot of gruesome expression that Miura went for, but every bit of it is trying to again do what I hope a lot of artists try to do, which is communicate something very specific. And those choices weren't like just for shock value. That shock was chosen very specifically, and filtering it through guts as a character was just magnificent. And one of the most beautiful things I ever saw on social media was the celebration of his work after he passed. When I saw that was like, it was just a bunch of light and positivity and work, and what his work was able to do for folks. And that's the goalpost. That's something I would love to leave behind, as well as this great deed to mental health. That would be something I would very much like. And you know, Berserk, again, it's gonna, if you take a lot of it out of context, it's going to be terribly shocking, and it's not going to be to a lot of people's taste. And even if you start with the first volume of Berserk, it's a very different story than what it becomes.
Oh, absolutely.
And, by the Golden Age arc, he's hit like what he wants to do. And at that point, if you don't love it, then it's not for you. But I think most people, if they get that far, they're like, oh, this is what he's doing. I got to see what's going to go further. And so, that's the work. I mean, it just has wonderful expression of this medium. But yeah, okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes, the sales bit here.
It's easy to get me off tangent. I'm sorry.
No. Was incredible. Like, again, it's one of the top expressions of what I'm trying to, again, goalposts. It's something I'm trying to touch, right? You can't. Miura's expression wasn't only in the writing, but it was in he literally poured himself onto that page. Like physically, he willed. It's it might have, you know, you never know how much it contributed to a passing, right? So it's an incredible like amount of work. It's a wonderful thing to look to, but you don't quite want to emulate it. So with issue number 4, again, these are always good jumping on points. If you want to jump on with issue number 4, I don't think you will have a problem doing that. But for our returning readers, which was primarily what this first tier here is for, it's a great way to continue our job, you know, continue the work we're trying to do, and support us at a relatively low price. Independent comics are specifically crowdfunded independent comics, ones without widespread distribution and all those fun bits. It's a labor of love is the best way to put it, and that love needs fuel. And so we charge what we can. We've continuously tried to lower the prices at the same time as raising our team's page rates, so that is reflected not only in the goal but in the tier pricing. We try and produce something exceedingly premium, limited print, and of high quality, so that it justifies this. But that's a great place to jump on if you want to jump on, like with our latest expression and what will be our best expression. But I'm sure a lot of folks, that's a hefty investment for some printed pages, and I
Yeah.
totally get that. So that's why we've always offered the digital at a low price. Issue number 4 is digital, of course. It is $4. It's a great entryway. A lot of mainstream comics and other comics, at least 5 to 6 for the digital, which I as I've always tried to do, like, I got footing in this. Our work got footing by offering a black and white digital read on tapastic.com. That was
Mm-hmm.
how I was able to get credit. Like, there were the awarenesses out there. People were hungry for content, but for a newbie team to get any kind of awareness, we also had to have, product to prove we could do it. And so I've always kept that in mind with our work, is that there's a way to dive into it for free,
Yeah.
because that's part of the legacy, right? But we also want to keep those digitals low. It's a great way to support us. Just snag it, throw a couple bucks our way. It makes a massive difference, and you will get that digital. The digital copy is like the most guaranteed. Well, everything's guaranteed, but it's going to be the quickest delivery compared to anything else we do every time. We've never been off footing, off time with the digital copy. That one's it's just the art production. It's getting the
Mm-hmm.
physical bits, the mechanisms to move that can sometimes cause significant delays. I don't expect that this go. I've learned quite a lot the last couple campaigns, but you never know with how the
Better be
world's
safe than
turning
sorry,
these
you know?
days. Exactly. So the digital is always like your safest bet. Not only is it the lowest entry fee, but it is also the easiest for us to get to you. So that one you can back with trust. Same with, so here's the issue 1 physical. I think it's $3 shipping. There's add-ons and such too if you actually want to give a little bit more and get some cool stuff with issue
Mm-hmm.
number 1. But I wanted that to be a lower entry fee, and these are already printed. The issue 1 through 3s are already printed, so there's no worry there. We just got to ship it to you. But I was going to get to the digital bundle, which is, of course, 1 through 4. With the $4 just issue number 4, you will also be getting the Cactus Coyote Ash Can and the Recluse introductory pages. So you will be getting 2 comics with the $4 digital. With this, you get 5.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful place to dive into Ironverse Comics, see what we're doing at a low price that is guaranteed. All of our digital DRM free, all that fun stuff is just a PDF that you can share. I really just want people to check out the work. We're not at a level where I think that any kind of piracy or anything like that affects our work. I think at the end of the day, the message and the work itself will demand more support.
The funny thing with piracy, though, it usually encourages people to try out your product, because 9 times out of 10 they weren't going to buy it anyways. But
that's been my experience as well. However, there are some indie creators who lean heavy into, the only way we survive and keep doing this work is to get paid. So I get them, very rigidly enforcing that. And I know quite a few who are like, we offer $1 entry, like myself, through Patreon to everything we make. Right. So there's no excuse to pirate.
No, and I respect
I
that.
totally get that.
And I, for one, would never share, you sent me 3 PDFs, and I would never share a single
I'd
one,
be fine
because
with those personally.
Well, yeah.
So
but
that's a different bit. So that's bit. I just wanted to communicate, I respect that bit, because there's no it keeps coming up in interviews, and I'm happy it does, because it's a constant reminder for myself.
And I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone watching this. If you do send me PDFs, I don't send them out unless you tell me to, and then I can link them to a couple people.
All right. Well, you're welcome to on my end. But is a Miyamoto Musashi quote that there's no one way up the mountain. And so that's been my bit too, is that there's so many ways to get this done, and that don't, if you are somebody who thinks I can get these for free, why not? As long as you're reading and enjoying the work and hopefully sharing it, you are in some way at least energetically paying for the work.
Yeah.
And in my case, in my case, it's the grassroots community interaction that allows any of this to happen. And the message in it is important enough to me that kind of bit, it far exceeds trying to get that $1. The $1 doesn't really go far for myself and for others. Our Patreon, which is Ironverse Comics on patreon.com, it pays for our website, which is ironversecomics.com, which has all the links and our hub, our merch store, all that cool stuff if folks are interested to dive in, our fan art gallery, video gallery, a lot of really cool stuff on that. But that's what the Patreon, that $1 a month on there, helps pay for. And those are folks who want to support on that level and keep the backbone of what we're doing alive, which a lot of it is that website. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but I never begrudge somebody who gets a hold of the work, reads it, and enjoys it. Like that's like super important to me. Like, at the end of the day, that's great. And I don't think, again, I'm at a level where it's just like, well, if they didn't, I'd be making this tends to not be how it works. But some folks, that's how they think, and they're not wrong to in their own way. So I hope nobody begrudges that. But nonetheless, $16, you get an entry to everything we've done so far. I'm sure we'll actually kick you the Cactus Coyote manga as well. So there's more. We always try to include a bunch of digital content. We've included our soundtracks, previous issues. We'll probably do the same again. Concept art, all the extras come in with the digitals, so it's a great entry way to see everything we're doing without having to, one, wait on the shipping, and two, pay a little bit up out the butt to get a hold of the physicals. So yeah, it's a great way. And this has been real popular, which has been nice for me, because there's only 75 of these bundles left, which is great. That we had extras from the previous campaign that we were originally going to offer through cons to liquidate that, and of course that situation has become more difficult over the last couple of years. We were able to offer this as an introductory, because I wasn't going to be able to do another printing of these issues this go.
How has Corona affected Ironverse and your comics and everything as a whole? You guys
there's a lot of ways. Last year was a nightmare on multiple fronts for myself, but we still got issue 3 out to everybody worldwide. I'm so proud of the team and honestly of myself, because of what was going through that year. The beginning of that year was just insanity. But we've had to cancel. Like, my first con appearance was supposed to be towards the end of 2020, and I would have really enjoyed doing that. The physical circus instead of this digital circus, I think I could have a lot of fun with. That's disappointing. It affected our ability to work with the printer for a little bit. I know it's affected more people this year, and we will, if we fund, will probably be affected by it as well as the paper shortages. There's team members getting sick. There's delays of people having to take care of each other. It's made things more difficult. Of course it has. But at the end of the day, it was nothing we couldn't continue to rise above. And our wonderful art team has gotten other gigs. Maxi Dallo, he worked on a 72-page graphic novel for the Gifted Rebels called Kids and Monsters. Beautiful work. He's worked with Mike Spicer, if people know him. He's a pretty well-known Marvel colorist and independent colorist. He usually works with Daniel Warren Johnson. We've Stephen Cannon. He's got a new, I think it is monthly limited series called By the Horns, coming through Scout this summer. Our team is working great. They've gotten wonderful and beautiful awareness, partially because of this work at Ironverse, but also because they're incredible talents. We've continuously tried to rise above the challenges we found, and Corona was one of them, no question. But it was, for me, it was the bottom of the barrel what I was doing last year, which is lucky. Some people it was not.
Hey, at least you knew that you were mentally strong enough and had the endurance to withstand it. At the end of the day, like, you were able to just come out on top when a lot of people probably didn't.
And that's the rough bit too. People who read issue number 2 that came out in 2018, there's a few specific scenes in there that I wish weren't so on the nose, but it's how it goes. So some of these things do just come out like that. So that's the physical bundle. Of course, is 1 through 4. We'll 1 through 3 are already printed and sitting there. We just got to ship them to you. We will wait until issue 4's production is done, printed, and over there, and ship them together. You'll get our physical tiers all include an 11x17 pinup. It's one of, we got to go kind of far down, but oh well. I went too far. One of these 3 magnificent pinups. We doing random pinups, which each go so that folks consider either doing the add-on in this case, which will get you all three without worrying about which one you're getting, or of course you can come back to us later and pick up the one you might have really wanted. So it's a little bit more community engagement, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the other bit too that's been with our pinups is I always try to grab from crazy diverse corners of independent comics to get that work done. Folks I want to work with and such, and that's always been one of the coolest parts of our first campaign. We did 5 pinups, and I think we worked between 7 and 10 different artists on those 5 pinups. And
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And combining different artists that wouldn't work together. So that was a lot of fun. This one, it was 3 standalone artists. It was just, it was more practical on my end, Disco. And there was a few I really wanted to work with again.
Mm-hmm.
We have this bundle, which is interesting. So I could go through a whole story of this encounter with our previous printer and what led to this. But at the end of the day, we have 1,500 issues. So 500 of each of 1, 2, and 3 that are misprints, quote unquote. Their coloring's a little off. It was an interesting encounter. Again, a wonderful person who was the middleman in that encounter who, over the months we were figuring out how to do this, continuously showed that they were in my corner as well as their business's corner. They wanted to make sure that this relationship can be fostered and grow. And so we ended up with these. It wasn't we paid for these. And so we do have these, and they are readable. I have a video at the bottom for folks who want to kind of check out the specifics. It's what my fan base is kind of called pixel jiggliness. It's a little loose on the blacks, so some of the lines are a little thicker. If you're not looking at a microscope, if you're looking like at a microscope, you can see the kind of how the printer had kind of not been calibrated properly. But they're 100% readable. This is 5 of each of those issues. It's a wonderful way to support us because, again, we didn't have to pay for these issues. They're just sitting there for us.
Yeah, and that's cool they gave them to you. Like, sometimes a company still might try to charge you for that. But that was cool that you actually just got these. That sounds like such a nightmare, though.
It was a nightmare. Just getting the proofing process, how I was used to with other printers, that took a while. And I think that precedent, once we worked that out, kind of helped contribute to this. So there was also a couple of random events, like the shipping company picked up the book. So in a lot of these cases, you're supposed to, at the very least, ship the misprinted books back so they can burn them, destroy them, whatever. They don't get out of pocket for that, right? As much. Yeah. They can guarantee that they weren't selling you a free product. In this case, the shipping company picked them up from my publisher and fulfillment guys, Wicked Publishing, and then dropped them back off at it.
So was this like during issue number 3's campaign?
Yes.
Or something? Oh my God, that would have been even worse. And it was beginning of
Corona. Again, it was
trying to fulfill, and it's like, hey guys, by the way,
yeah, that was fun, but we eventually did get the order in properly. And
so how did you fix that though? Did you just hit them and you're like, hey, fix this and we're gonna go through you again?
That was part of it, right? So again, there's a wonderful guy who's worked with a lot of larger campaigns, fulfilling them, like massive, 10,000 backer campaigns, and the guy knows kind of what's expected. And the company in particular it has a couple different qualities because it has different printing facilities. Mm-hmm. And so I had been aware of what one of these printing facilities can sometimes put out, and so we had already discussed what happens, and we had spent months figuring this out. And he had already told me, no matter what, just don't open them and all of that if something's weird. And so I got my comp copies from that print run. They looked fine to me. Again, these are 100% like readable, good looking books. When I opened them just myself and looked through them, they were fine. But then once the almost high of like, here's my new books, I get to look at them for the first time, kind of wore off. Yeah. I was like, you know what? Let me compare the interiors to previous printings. And that's when I found these errors.
So how did that call go? Like when you were like, hey, by the way, you just sent me like 500 issues of number 3 that I need to send out, and these are messed up.
Yeah, that's kind of what it went. And he's like, okay, because I was not happy. He knew how to deal with artists.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, breathe. We'll talk this out. You didn't open them. You didn't look through them. We can just take them back and burn them and print again if this is the issue. Just take pictures. Show me as much data as I can so I can present that to the business end. He was being a great liaison. That's what he was doing. I had a wonderful person in my corner. Most folks will not have this experience with a printer. I've continuously had wonderful people in our corners throughout all of this. It's part of the magic of this gig and why I have continuous faith in doing it no matter the trials putting forth in front of me, because again, most of them turn out to be lessons more than like, here's a massive hurdle that you got destroyed by. And so this is one of those things that it could be, right? They could be like, well, you paid for them, we shipped them, we're done. Right. A lot of people could do that and they would have been within their legal right to. But in how we had discussed and what we had tried to do and the reputation that this printer wanted to have, all of those things we leveraged to just ship them back to them. But and they'll print another one and dispose of those. But the shipping company again had messed up. And so they had paid to ship them back to themselves. And so they weren't going to do that again when the shipping company had just dropped them back off at my publisher. Like they picked them up. They picked up 1,500 books. And then like 2 days later, they brought them back thinking that was what they were supposed to do. And so that, I don't know how that worked out through the printer.
God, I feel bad for the middleman.
I don't know if they got their money back. I don't know like how that worked out. But at the end of the day, like he eventually got a hold of me. Like there was a week or two there where we were just holding on to those books thinking they'd get picked up again. And then eventually he's like, you know what? We just decided the headache's too much. So you can just hold on to them. Do with them what you want.
Yeah, I bet that middleman at least probably lost like a head full of hair over the stress. Like getting it shipped out and the next time he's sending it back to you, he's probably like, yeah, I'm done doing this. Like,
no, he was so cool headed. Like that's the bit, like a wonderful guy. And that was one of the bits that Corona's affected. He sadly has passed to Corona since then.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And it sucked. Wonderful guy. But it was that incredible bit that he knew what needed to be done for a comics relationship to continue, and he was totally willing to do that as long as he had enough data and ability. He was willing to get out on a limb, and very cool-headed about it. Again, he's worked with a lot of like bigger artists, right, who are probably crazier when something bad like that happens. Yeah. And so it wasn't like, I'm sure it sucked. I'm sure there was a lot of like tense, like God damn it, we got to do this now, right? Because it wasn't on there. Well, the printing was on there, but the shipping bit, that bit where their normal motive operandi, where they get their stuff back and then they'll reprint it. Maybe they pulp the page. I don't know what they do with those books, but that bit of the mechanism had to also be sacrificed just to move on from it. Right? Yeah. I have no idea how that went on the business end. I'm sure it wasn't that fun, but it was nothing he ever communicated to me was like this absolute insanity. It's just like, give me as much data as I can, show me what's wrong and all of that, and I will do what I'm supposed to do and communicate that to the business end. Yeah. And that's what happened, and we ended up with these. It's a wonderful way to snag them, and it was one of the many other lessons I've been gifted with in working with printers. Again, some people just get those screwed up books and then they're left to hang. Because the printer got paid, right? That these folks wanted to go that extra mile and communicate that this is how we do business, and that was incredible. And I hope to work with them again in the future on issue number 4, but we'll see how that goes. I got enough demand, and so we have a limited number of 1 through 3 printed already, right? So I could offer a lot less of this, but we got a relative demand to open up. So I opened this up, I don't know, 15 days into the campaign, so we can ship this internationally. International shipping is murder. I really don't expect too many people to jump on that. I really recommend the digitals, especially these days where it's kind of, your dollar's going a lot. It's not going as far. And so this, if you really want these, I am so grateful for you guys who are willing to pay the shipping to get these out internationally. It is just murder, and it sucks that none of that really goes to the team. It just goes to facilitating getting the books across an ocean or across a border.
Well, how much is the shipping? Is it pretty heavy?
Depending on where you're shipping from, right? So like Canada, it's not great, but it's not UK prices, which can be, you know, up to 35
Ooh, yeah.
to cover. So I mean, you're paying as much almost for the shipping as you are for the books, and that's always a heartache.
I am sure if they are ordering, they are used to those costs, or they know there's another, you know, alternative like digitally. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the bit, right? We've shipped overseas consistently, and people have been willing. I mean, we've had backers in Japan, we've had backers in Germany. The EU's kind of easier than some, but it's all still just a little bit murdery for the scale we're doing it. If you're printing a lot more, right, you doing 500 issue batches, which it's kind of one of the thresholds where the printing costs are cheap, but 1,000 issues is when printing costs actually go down to a bit where it's like super profitable. And at the same time, at that level, you can shave off some of those costs from shipping as well and eat it in the profits from the book. And we're just not at that level yet.
And that happens,
some people who are still feel the need to charge everything through that, and I totally get it, because again, some campaigns don't think through the international charges, and I've seen them have to eat that like crazy, and it can sink a project. So I've been very careful to make sure that everything is, you know, nothing's gonna sink us. It's all adaptable if something was to happen, and that's one of the bits is the shipping charges. It's one of the unexpected things that can rise quite a bit suddenly, and then you're left paying out of pocket, and makes the project more difficult to continue. And not going to do that this go. But if folks want to snag this, all of our physical tiers, of course, also include the digital stuff. So, you know, you'll get those right away if you want to read right away and then get the physicals. Most folks wait for the physical, in my experience. But nonetheless, we're trying to give you as much bang for the buck as possible. But the shipping isn't something we can affect much. Issue 4 in a standee, so we're doing a 6-inch, most likely wooden standee. I'm going to have that in hopefully before the campaign ends. I do have, did I add that mock-up to the bottom? I did. So here's the mock-up of what the standee is going to look like. So you get that, and of course issue number 4, all the digital content. Yeah. That's kind of the rough what it'll look like, and again, it's about 6 inches. So it's a pretty nice little standee. Of course, at the Boogie Bot pin-up, I thought that was the coolest piece of art to do that with right now. All these, of course, get a sticker too. This is the sticker we're using. Folks are curious. All the physical orders, anywho. This was a big one. I'm surprised I sold one. I did these last campaign. It's about a 4-inch resin figure. I hand paint on stream. It's about 7 hours per figure.
That is so
I put
cool,
into it.
Yeah.
And so it's one of a kind, of course, because it's me applying the paint to it, and I ship with a certificate of authenticity, signed, all of that fun stuff. And so it's a great way to support us. But I last campaign I had them significantly cheaper, and it was totally like worth it. It was skill that I could just put down, right? It wasn't like the physical production of the figure wasn't profitable, but it was a lot more mental effort, particularly again doing it in 2020 when I had a lot of other things going on than I really wanted to. So I raised the price significantly. This is the last time I think I'm going to do it specifically. So if folks are interested in that very personal bit of Ironverse comics, that's a great way to do it. And sadly, we have sold out of the other very personal and unique bits. There might be one that comes up towards the end of the campaign. That would be the issue number 4 cover. The cover is the last thing we produce, so that it encapsulates the issue as it was expressed. So if that does finish before the campaign goes up, then the original page will be up on here as well. But this was the other way, but they sold pretty quick, which was very, very cool. It was good for Maxi. We were trying to sell, again, doing everything traditional has its benefit in that you can eventually, do that. You can sell pages and make a profit off of it. But we had tried for a while to do it without a campaign and just kind of offer them, because he has, 80 pages or something already, so just kind of sitting there, and that didn't take, but these took right away, which was incredible.
And I think they're really personable tiers too,
Oh yeah, my hope is, right? He's an extreme talent. I hope they just continue to go up in value. I hope the IP does as well, but just Maxi Dollo art, I think
Yeah.
will appreciate it. It's incredible. He's been published in heavy metal now, and there's a couple other places I'm hoping to see him pop up in, and so it's a great way to get in on a ground level of an artist who has nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that covers all the tiers. After checking out everything, what would be your message to anyone who's kind of on the fence? Hey, Dollar Coins, welcome to the stream. So anyone who's like on the fence with backing this project, we still have what, 19 days left?
Well, yeah, I haven't. Well, did I refresh this? 21 days.
21 days,
I thought
days
there's
off.
a little bit more.
So you got a couple days left. So anyone who's kind of just on the fence teetering, what would you say to them to push them over to go ahead and back this project? I know we got digital copies as low as $4. So anyone that's kind of just teetering, would be your personal message to them?
So this work is very hard to communicate outside of the work. That's been one of our consistent hurdles, is that it's a lot together, and as a mechanism it communicates itself better than I can communicate how important it is to me. I can communicate how important it is to the team, how what it means to us, all of that fun stuff. I can communicate that honestly, but at the end of the day, checking it out is the best way. So if you're on the fence that far, go to ironversecomics.com, go to read issue number 1 of Jack Iron's Steel Cowboy, and if you enjoy what we're doing there, you will adore what we've been growing with the property. That's the best way to see. If you're that far on the fence, you should at least go look at it, read a couple pages, and if you want to read all of it. You have 3 more issues to go, right?
Yeah.
So check that out. That's my best bit. But it means a ton to the team. It means a lot to myself. I think it's an important conversation. I think it is a beautiful set of artistry. I think it is an adventure worth taking. Extreme gratitude to anybody who takes the risk and even puts just a small amount of time to check it out. It's a lot, and my hope is folks will get what we're doing by checking it out. It's the best way. I wish I could more concisely sell it, but if I do, then I am selling it short.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to touch on it, let's say for whatever reason this project doesn't fully fund, what's your go-to plan after that?
So there's a couple things in motion. If folks have followed myself on Ironverse Comics on YouTube, I already started Plan B, which I'm not really going to announce till there seems like there's a time to, but there's a Plan B. It won't be the last time you see it. Not only this platform, right? I've worked on other platforms, and I'm excited to try other platforms as needed and adapting. Indiegogo, we've been on since the beginning. I mainly chose it because it wasn't Kickstarter, not because I disliked Kickstarter, but I'm always for like the underdog platform, and so that's where we found our audience at the time. So I returned to there to find it again. And we've had less of that audience show up than expected. So there's a lot of thought and effort being made to basically start from the ground up again, which has been a wonderful experience. And so we are amiable to many other platforms, many other ways. And again, I always point folks directly to our main, the main vein that folks can tap into what we're doing, which is ironversecomics.com. You can find every link there to all of our socials. You can find places to interact with us. And that's the best way to keep up with what we're doing outside of this, if this wasn't to fund. If this is to fund, of course, you'll be updated every step of the way. Some campaigns hit upwards of 100 updates before fulfillment. I make sure that people know where we are every step of the way. It's a collective journey, simply because we aren't able to do it without wonderful folks part of it, and I want to make sure that they never feel like they toss their energy into the wind. No, you tossed it into a wonderful mechanism I'm so proud to be a part of.
Yeah, no, and I definitely, I love this interview. I was very excited from the moment that we talked, and I was able to kind of sneak in and watch you, make the trailer for it at certain points, and just everything leading up to it. And reading the comic, I really loved it. That, that's why I backed it. I usually I don't back just to like get people like cheesy about it. I back because I genuinely appreciate it, and I feel, as a creator, that's the type of backing you want too. You want people
absolutely.
who love this
There's a lot
as
of
much as you.
well, I don't want to say it's superficial, because maybe they're not backing the book, but they're backing the personality, and I am exceedingly grateful for those kind of backers as well. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the work I'm doing. In some cases, the creator, that's the work they're doing. Part of it is their actual memento that they're doing for the performance, but you're still paying the performance. And so in my case, that I don't want you paying for the performance. I want you supporting the work. And that's, I want our work to continuously improve. So I need folks who are engaged with it, compared to, please support me. I need it. But at the end of the day, the work I'm doing, I do it because of itself. I don't do it because of me. I do it for me, but I don't do it because of that. And
you better give me all that money though.
Please, all of it.
Cody, we've come to my favorite part of the podcast, and I always love ending the podcast off strong. Now, I'm sure there are millions of those out there that want to do this. They want to get their idea to paper. They want to make a comic. What would you say to anyone out there that's struggling to get their comic off the ground, get their idea off the ground, and just to take off? What would you say to them to help them push through?
So the takeoff is the toughest part. When I was diving into comics, I found it exceedingly disheartening that most avenues I found, like how to break into comics or any kind of like articles written and such, it'll tell you the only way to get in. They'll tell you a million different ways, but the only way to get into comics is to make comics, and that's so helpful, right? Like, so that always bugged me. That bugged me consistently. But eventually, you'll find your own definition of that. How you find a team, or if you're a artist writer, it's simply just doing the work. There's a million ways up the mountain. Don't get disheartened by what you're doing isn't resonating. Maybe don't be as stubborn as I can be, in that this is what I'm doing. And so I pivot it, I grow, there's discussion where, some writers are architects, some are gardeners. I'm a gardener, so everything's loose and kind of grows as the journey moves forward. Some folks who are architects build this wonderful structure, but then it doesn't resonate right away. If you're that kind of artist, stick with it. If it's something you truly believe in, I think if you have that much energy behind it, that much heart behind it, then it means something. And do it for that, not for the recognition or any of that. If you're chasing those things, your art's going to be hollow, and your journey is going to be hollow, and therefore significantly more difficult. And it's already difficult enough, right? So keep at it, adapt where you need. Don't be too rigid, but don't be too loose in that nothing gets done. And enjoy it, please. I know it can be very difficult out there. I know very well it can be very difficult, not only on the business end, but the networking end, on so many different ways. And again, if you're not doing it for yourself at the end of the day, if you're not doing it for the expression of what you're trying to do, then you're going to have a much harder time. So find something that means something to you in one way or another. And there's a million ways that a piece of art can be, infinite ways that a piece of art can be meaningful. So find that for yourself, and that should carry you through the journey as long as you stick at it and are continuously looking for new avenues to grow and learn and express that piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the best I can hope for out there. It's the best knowledge I can, but I'm also available. I try and be as helpful as I can to other independent creators, whether that's boosting, whether that's sharing experience, whatever I can do. I'm out there. Again, ironversecomics.com. Go to contact and find your platform of choice to get a hold of me.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, with that being said, I really had such a fantastic time having Cody come on the show and breaking down just everything about this INDIEGOGO campaign and every issue and page in between. It's been such an amazing experience. I really appreciate you just taking the time out of your day to come break it down with us. Anyone that's popped in, obviously, much love to you guys too. We are now streaming these episodes on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And I'm looking to get it on as many platforms as possible, because the more areas that I can reach, the more we can get this word out there. So guys, if you're interested, we will have all these links in our description below. You'll be able to check out these issues for free. Jack Irons issue number 1 and 2, right? Or is 3 on there as well?
1 is on there. So if you click on issue number 1, go there. It'll take you to Global Comics. Wonderful, very creator-focused, independent comic hosting platform. I recommend folks check it out just for what they have on offer. They have Top Cow, Heavy Metal, a bunch of the independent folks, Red 5, Source Point Press, whole bunch of folks on there that, IDW, that have a lot of awareness to them as well, but they're growing and they're super personal with creators. So as a creator platform and the analytics that they provide and all the information, wonderful platform. Please check them out. But you can read issue number 1, and then if you want to keep going, I think we skip over some of the extra content in issue number 1. So you finish the story, and then maybe you get a couple bits of the extra content, and then it goes to issue number 2. And you can read half of issue number 2 for free on there as well. And then if you either join Global Comics, you'll get everything we have for free, and your money from your subscription is only divvied out to the creators you read, and a little bit to Global Comics. So that's a great way to just support us directly. There's also, if you're not a fan of Patreon, which some people are not, and I totally get it, you can support us through there, like Patreon as well, monthly. It's a great way to help us out. Again, with that subscription, you can read up to issue number 3 and get caught up, or you can join us on Patreon for $1 and just download the digitals.
Hey, and real quick, before we sign off, I do have to tell you, we got our man Dollar Coins in the chat, and he says to play Final Fantasy VII because you're intimidated by it. And as a fellow Cody, fellow Cody, I mean, I don't know if you could. This is a Cloud stand-up. All right, I have this figurine. I have Vincent and Barry too, but these guys are worth like $100 a pop. Very, very huge Final Fantasy fan. I have Genova tattooed right here on the inside of my arm.
Very not intimidated by Final Fantasy VII.
You are doing a disservice to Cody's across the world until you play this.
Oh no! No, I'm not terribly addicted to it. I expect all coins to razz me a little bit. Wonderful editor, co-founder of Ironverse Comics. Please check out Cactus Coyote while you're checking out Jack Irons, and you'll see what we're doing on the cosmic scale as well as the more Terran scale, and then you'll get kind of what we're doing over there, which is a whole bunch of awesome insanity.
Yeah, well, I think right now, perfect time though. Guys, thank you once again for stopping in. And Cody, once again, 1,000 thank yous for introducing me to this awesome book. With that being said, guys, I hope you have an awesome day. We're going to be getting some podcasts out as well. But most importantly though, keep it geekly.